Hello, hello. Nice to meet you. We are already live, so hello. Hi, nice to meet you. We are going live, so I already see the chat. We'll be starting in 5 to 10 minutes. So if you could say hi in the chat, introduce yourself, would be great. Hello. Nice to meet you. We'll be going live in 5 minutes. Hello, everyone. Hey, hey. Hello, Ronaldo. Hello, Igve. Nice to meet you. Where are you guys from? Hey, hello. In a PhD researcher in accounting. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hey, Esther. Nice to meet you. Hey, Shazia. Sorry if I mispronunciate your name. I just don't know how to do it correctly. Yeah. I only know Polish and English, so, and a bit of Dutch. Great to, oh, you're from Nigeria. Okay. What is your background, guys? Brazil, living in Canada. Okay. Mumbai, India. All right. We'll have to wait a little bit for people to come. You could use this time if you have questions, just generic questions about careers. We still have a few minutes, so if you ask me anything, then I'll just take a question right now, question or two, before we start. Let's see. This is the first time I do StreamYard's streaming, so I'll have to, yeah, let's see how that goes. So I can see that there is a streaming through a few platforms at a time. And I'm supposed to get your questions. Okay, finished my PhD in electrical engineering. Okay. So from what I know, LinkedIn can delay questions a little bit, a few seconds. But if you have anything to ask, you can ask me now. We'll have a Q&A session in the end as well. Is it possible to have the slides? Yeah, well, I was planning to make a recording of this, and you can also access the recording. Maybe that would work. About the slides, I have to think about it, because yeah, I have to think about it, because this is the first time I do such a presentation. And I think about doing it from time to time. I will have to think if I should share slides or not. Yeah, let me think for a while. Let's see. Yeah, we will have to wait five more minutes, just because many people will be late for sure. So take a like a moment to make a tea or so. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, it's we're supposed to, recording is also okay. Okay. Yeah. How was your New Year's Eve, and how was your Christmas time? Do you feel rested or not yet? Or not at all? Oh, Mitch. Hey, Mitch is actually a celebrity, so I'm surprised that you have time for this. But great, great. Aside from consulting or domain-specific companies for academics and PhDs, making a transition to industry, are there tracks or strategies to penetrate the startup tech market? Yeah, actually, funny enough, PhDs for PhDs it's relatively easy to find jobs in startups compared to corporations, for instance. This kind of sounds counterintuitive, but this is true because of the individuality and in startups, people who are decisional for accepting candidates are usually also in charge of changing the rules if necessary. So if you're a person who does not fit the profile description of a perfect candidate in 100%, but the recruiter, who is usually also a founder of a company, spots your potential, they might actually accept you. Whereas when you go to a corporation, then you will just be eliminated in the first round of applications. They first try to frame you into this profile they have, and they have hundreds of candidates, and the recruiters who are like the first stage recruiters, they don't know the team as well. Usually they just have to filter a candidate, so it's an elimination game. If you don't fit in 100%, they will just eliminate you. So PhDs often think, hey, if a corporation has 10,000 or 100,000 employees, I will definitely find a spot. Like they take a batch of 50 people at a time. Why wouldn't I get in? I have such a good education. But in fact, a startup that only needs one person often is a better choice than a corporation. So I don't know if that answers your question. So for sure, applying for, hello, Damian. Hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, so for sure, applying for jobs in startups is a good idea as a PhD in general, and it's a good first stage. And many PhDs start careers in startups, so I can definitely recommend that. And are there tracks to or strategies to penetrate the startup tech market? Well, that's a difficult question. So, is the question about how to get a complete overview of the market? Well, because if that's the question, then yeah, that's not easy because there are so many little companies out there, right? There's no such thing as a map or a landscape of all the employers that you might potentially choose from. To my knowledge, there is no such thing. Maybe that would be an interesting tool to make a software that is basically mapping the job market and making a complete map of all the current opportunities. That's actually in itself probably a good business model to make a database like this that is getting updated. But I don't think there is a tool like this at the moment. So I think what you're left with is meetups, Googling, and personal contacts, because I don't think that there is a way to completely explore all your opportunities one by one. Yeah. But you have enough opportunities nevertheless. Okay. Next question is, I have a PhD in biology. I have been working as a medical editor and publication manager with a 10-year experience in scientific medical editing. Interesting in job opportunities in journal publication industry. Okay, in UK, US, and EU. In visa sponsorship an issue in the current pandemic scenario, right? Yeah. Actually, I would start with this visa sponsorship thing. Yeah, actually, visa sponsorship is not really about remote work versus work from the office. It's more that for instance, European Union is basically trying to protect their own employees from talent from outside EU that is usually cheaper labor because of the difference, in income per capita in different countries. So the problem is that there are different standards for remuneration in like developing countries. So the European Union basically introduced those practices like visa sponsorship to protect European employees from remote workers and just taking over their jobs. So this is kind of independent from the pandemic. It was not introduced, like it has nothing to do with the pandemic. If the pandemic ends, it will nothing will change, and if it lasts, also nothing will change, because it's just a way of putting an umbrella on European workers so that there is no unemployment, or at least unemployment is not growing here. So that's the reason. So, well, it is an issue if you're non-European, right? And you want to find a job in the European Union, because only companies who have special license are allowed to employ non-Europeans. And on top of that, they have to pay for the sponsorship visa. So that's like tens of thousands of euros of a fee per person. So indeed, well, corporations, if they see your value and they are in good financial situation. Yeah, I know a lot of expats from outside EU who work here and no problem. But if this is like a startup that still counts money before spending it, then it might be a barrier. Yeah. And yes, I mean, like being an expat is always a sort of a barrier. Like I've been in the Netherlands for 10 years, but I still don't know fluent Dutch. And for me also, even though I have all the same rights as a professional in the job market, there's still a invisible barrier there. There's always some sort of a barrier. So if I were you, if you're interested in applying for jobs here, I would just choose for bigger companies that are relatively well off. Also, yeah, companies where like you might do a little bit of research. If there are non-EU people in large amounts, then probably they have no problem with this. Just so before applying, I would just ask around through LinkedIn, for instance. Ask politely, try to find some contact of a contact who works there or worked there, and then you will know, because otherwise you would waste a lot of time applying. If you I'm interested in job opportunities in journal publication. Hello. Hey Julia. Journal publication. Okay. Yeah, I mean, from academia to journal publishing it's usually not as big of a leap, because academia is a publication game. So like this kind of career track is relatively close to academic publishing, and usually this type of career transition is relatively smooth compared to many others. Yeah, thank you for your question. And interested. Okay. Yeah, so if you have a lot of experience, I think, currently also in Europe, there is this market where it's really hard to find a good employee. So I think now is a good time for you. If you would like to move, let's say, from outside EU to work, I think now is a good time, because it's really a type of a market where employers chase employees. So even though they have to pay on top of your salary to sponsor your visa, I think now is actually a good time, because they might just badly need you. So if you're thinking of working in EU but you don't have European passport, then yeah, now is the time. But it has nothing to do with pandemic. These are two completely separate problems. Pandemic has nothing to do with this. It's just about the demand of supply of good employees, and that has nothing to do with the virus. Do you think that it's hard to get a job in a country that you don't currently live in? Well, thank you, Julia. I think depends what type of a job, right? Because now it becomes kind of standard that teams work remotely. So I think it's easier than ever. it's easier than ever, and it really depends on and if a job is remote, or if they allow for remote work, then they will usually tell you in the job offer, so you don't have to wonder if that's the case. You can just read about it in the job offer. And then if that's the case, then the only barrier that you can have is what was mentioned before. So this some specific type of visas that you might need abroad. So that might stop you, not the fact that you're not there physically. But there are still companies that try to keep this hybrid. Like there's almost no one who still tries to keep like full-time office type of work style, because it's so difficult today. But some companies still try to make it hybrid, so that part of the week you spend in the office and part of the week you spend working from home. Like I know that Google is still trying to do that, although more and more employees actually ask to work remotely, but they still try to keep this culture going, that at least for part of the time team members actually see each other. So that's the case. But yeah, many companies already moved to fully remote work, so that that's then no problem. And recruitment also moved online, so it's now rare that the recruitment procedure takes place in the company office. So I don't think so, really. It's just, as long as you have the right passport, it's absolutely no problem. If a company has to pay on top of your salary, sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not. Okay, all right. So I will keep on going then. Thank you all for coming, and I think more people will join as we go. Let me then start my presentation. Let's just still check if no one tries to get in. Okay, I think we can start now. All right, great. So I will keep this presentation like this because I need to see a chat, so that if you guys have any questions in like one as we go, then please ask me, and I will see the chat at all times. So when I get a question, I'll try to answer on the fly. Okay, so keep on. If you have any questions, just let me know anytime, and let's keep on going. All right, so briefly what the plan of this workshop is. I will first tell you very briefly my own story, how I actually spent the rest the last few years of my life, but it will be brief story, because I think it was not as linear as my LinkedIn profile might suggest. So I think that's also sometimes good to mention, because when you look at the LinkedIn profiles, you always think that people actually had a perfect plan, whereas in fact they had no plan for a long time. They were just trying a lot of things. So I think it's good to mention the story. And then I will come to the main part of this workshop, which is the trends in the job market of this year that I think you should know about. And I will talk about 5 main trends that I like to discuss with you today. And of course, there are people here who are PhDs. There are also people here who are not, and you have different backgrounds. So I was aiming to create a presentation that is relatively broad, so that you can all benefit from this. So this will be. I'll try to keep it agnostic to your discipline, so that there is no problem. So that it's not as specific, but I think it's going to be interesting to you. And then I will answer a few questions that were coming up to the most often, because I also asked you in the subscription forms what your problems and questions are. So I will answer a few questions that were coming the most often. And then there will be an open discussion and Q&A. But of course, if you have any questions, let me know. I will be answering on the fly. Okay, so let me start from like very short story of myself. So who am I actually? So my story actually started when I was 6, and my mom once told me, you know what, the human brain is too complicated to understand. It will never be able to understand the human brain. That's how complex it is. So I was like, hold my beer, although I was 6, so it was like, hold my glass of water, hold my milk. And I was like, yeah, this is something for me. I will prove that human brain can be understood. And I made a resolution back then that I want to be that person that understands the human brain. But then nothing really happened for many years with my research plans. In the meantime, when I was 7, I kind of I wrote my first book, and it was a kind of a merge between Sin City and Winnie the Pooh. I basically wrote about the story of my own toys, especially one toy that was a female fox. And yeah, it was actually her story. She was a dancer in a nightclub, and yeah, it was kind of crazy for a 7-year-old to write the story like this. But that was actually officially my first book that is still somewhere in my hometown, locked in a closet. But yeah, that was actually the first book I ever wrote. And then yeah, I always dreamt about being an author, but I didn't really do much about this dream for a long time. And then I went to university when I was 18. I studied physics, mathematics, and psychology at the interfaculty studies in natural sciences in Warsaw. It was a lot of studying, I have to say, and I finished all 3 of them with a master's. Then I also did a little training in economy at the Warsaw School of Economics before I went to a PhD. At that point, I felt that business training was just felt just too easy and too pleasant. I felt like this was too much fun, and it was not real effort to me to learn. So it was not noble enough. I was like, science is harder, it's more noble, so let's go the science path. Now I'm thinking, you fool, this was something easy for you, something easy and pleasant. Maybe this is what you should be doing. But back then I thought I should challenge myself more. So I went for a PhD. And I moved to the Netherlands. I did a PhD in computational neuroscience here at the Donders Institute. It was a long way to get a PhD. But eventually it happened. And when I finished my contract, I started working as a career development and mentoring manager. It was actually a charity work at the Organization for Human Brain Mapping. It was in 2017. And at that point, I treated this as just, I felt some need to contribute to the scientific community. I felt passionate about mentoring, but I didn't really think about it as my career path. I just wanted to rest a little bit from full-time research because my PhD was really intensive. I felt I had space in my life and opportunity to take a gap year, so I treated this a bit like a leisure activity, so that I can just rest doing something interesting and necessary, something useful before I come back to academia full time and start a postdoc. That's how I treated this. But then I just liked it way too much. And I felt, well, this is something I enjoy so much more when I see beneficiaries of my work, people whom I directly help instead of just writing theoretical publications. And then I started a little foundation here in Nijmegen in 2018. It's called Stichting Solaris, and the purpose was to help researchers get better mentorship and also career advisory when moving out of academia. And then with time, I started doing this full time, and I felt like, well, I should probably make it my profession officially and start some form of business activity around it to fund myself. So I started a company, first called Welcome Solutions, but it was later rebranded to Ontology of Value. And I wrote the book, What is Out There for Me? The Landscape of Post-PhD Career Tracks. So and that was my first activity within the company. So, well, when you think about it, like, it looks like it was a smooth transition, but it wasn't really, because in the meantime, I was trying a lot of different things. So first of all, I took a gap year just after my PhD ended, and I didn't really know what to do next. I thought I would first rest and then I come back to academia, but I wasn't entirely sure. So I felt like there's just big nothingness in front of me. I was for a long time not sure how it will all pan out for me. And then I started mentoring, but I also started. I also entered the startup culture, and I was writing business plans for startups in the IT scene and some blockchain startup. And I was thinking maybe I become a technical writer for startups. So I also tried that, and people were happy about my work, but I didn't really feel I was building projects. I was just a ghostwriter for somebody else to build their business plan, and I felt I would rather create a project by myself. I just feel like I need to create something rather than write about someone else's creation. So that was just my personal need. And I also tried investing. I am terrible trader, I have to say, but I learned it the hard way. So in the meantime, I spent some time doing that, and yeah, that was not a very good idea. But I learned a lot about economy, and now I think I'm actually much more reasonable with my choices than back then. But I try, and at some point I even thought I think I had some beginner's luck, so I thought I was good at it, whereas I wasn't. So I, for some time, I also considered this as a career path, but no, it's not completely not for me. But I tried. So these things, yeah, I can say these were failed trials, but I'm happy I tried because now I know what I'm good at and what I'm not. And this is the situation now. So, oh, this is actually. And by the way, my research career is doing quite fine, even though I'm officially outside of academia. So when I left, it was the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and now actually my publication score and the number of citations is blowing up, even though I'm not employed in academia anymore. So kind of funny, but I'm publishing more and I'm getting cited more once I'm outside of academia. So that's kind of funny. And at the moment, I'm still the director of my foundation and the owner of the company. I author books. I'm just writing my second one. I blog. I have two blogs actually. One of them is my personal blog where I write more about my personal insights and experiences, and the other one is a company blog where I write about the job market. So if you would like to keep in touch with the job market, this is the place to go. I feel. And I have a little YouTube channel. So if you would like to get some advice for PhDs, but not only for the general career development strategies, then please take a look. I think you will like it. It's still very small, but I will be working more on it this year. So I'm going to create a lot of content there. All right. So this is like in brief my story and our mission in the company at the moment. So you might be familiar with this concept of a blue ocean. And this blue ocean is basically is this approach to create a leap in value by unlocking new demand. So to find your niche, in other words. And actually, I like to put it a little bit farther and just like I see it as more of a green ocean, as not only finding your niche, but also collaborating with others and both individuals and businesses. So just helping each other grow, and that's what we do as career advisors. Also, I can feel that in this space we help each other. We don't compete. So it's all about helping each other grow, not trying to take each other's clients, but just helping each other and mutually benefit and also developing businesses and careers. I believe it doesn't have to be stressful. It can be actually fun. So that's the point. And in the long term, if everything works as I like to, in a long term, I hope before retirement I can build some facility where people can go develop their projects and careers. So that's like very long term goal I have. with this company. So, but I wanted to share because I think it's good to have like big goals long term, and I think it's good to share them, even though it's kind of might sound crazy, but I think it's always good to be vocal about your goals. All right, so this was my story. And just briefly mentioning, I'd like to acknowledge a few people who are involved in this project. My dear, privately, my mom, but she's very experienced in aviation and motor automotive industry. For like 30 years, she was working in many companies in this field, and now she's a great advisor with in terms of engineering companies and this sort of industries and recruitment and written and non-written rules in those industries helps greatly with developing content as well. This is Samuel is a great developer who built ontology of value test, all the backend, and he's still working on new features and solutions around it. So that's great. Actually, very good talent. I think he will get really far as a developer. It's very clever. And actually, Elżbieta is a friend of mine who is also a great sales strategist, and she's developing a sales strategy. And so we want to reach everyone who needs this test and the services that we develop. So that's a challenge, of course, in the complex world of today. But she's super smart and she's now working on it, very enthusiastic as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge them because I feel like this is always good to do, especially at the beginning of the presentation, not at the end when everyone is already tired. Okay, so but that was about me and enough about me because this event is about you. So please tell me about yourself in the chat. So I'd like to know more about what you do for a living. Also, what is your background, and also what are your New Year's resolutions for this year? So if you could type in the chat, I'd like to see a little bit of your plans. And meanwhile, there were some questions. So let me see. Monica is asking, what about later career academics? I'm 64, will have my PhD in summer and want to work structurally at the research intensive university. Okay. I work at the University of Applied University. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think so. The question is, may I expect to become an assistant professor? Yeah, actually, I know such cases that researchers becoming assistant professors after like reaching 50 years old. It's a matter of demand versus supply. So like with assistant professorship is always a little bit of like luck factor. Like there must be a position where like where your expertise fits, and there's just there is a spot for you. So it's more about that than about your age. And like regardless of age, every time I hear a story like this, it's just it's a matter of opportunity. So the more opportunity you search for, the better for you. But do I understand correctly that you want to stay at your current workplace? Is that the case? And find the opportunity there? Or are you searching for something outside of your current workplace? And the other question is actually for me, why did you not apply to data scientist positions in biotech pharma? Yeah, actually, good question. I did not apply because that was actually a big of a dilemma because I can program, and I did program in my PhD, and I had quite a technical PhD. But my problem was that I don't like the process of programming. So I had a dilemma because I knew that if I take a data science job, I will find a well-paid position, but it's not necessarily something that I would be enjoying in like daily life. That's one of the hardest dilemmas you can have, and I had that dilemma. Do I want to go for a career as an author, which I will only work in a few years because it's a long journey, but something I love? Or would I rather take a well-paid position doing something that will just drain me? Because programming takes my energy, writing gives me energy, so that's a big difference. So I had a dilemma, I have to say. It was a hard one. Now I'm happy about my choices, but it was not always like this. Initially it was just pain because I could see how hard I have to work and how little I get out of it financially. So initially it was not really yeah, it was not that fulfilling, but now it's much better. Yeah, but it's easy to say, to tell someone, go for your heart, because I know how much pain it can be initially. But in the long run, sooner or later, you should be choosing things you enjoy doing, because the progress you make is so much faster. If I chose data science job, I would be just plain frustrated, like every day. So now I would probably be out of energy, um, frustrated, feeling like I'm aging. I might have a safe salary, but I would probably be too unhappy to even enjoy it. So yeah, that was my choice. Uh, um, Monica is saying, actually, how can I do high-level intellectual work? High-level intellectual work, what does that mean? For instance, is, let's say, medical writing or writing like high-level intellectual work? It's like what type of, or is it any type of high-level intellectual work? I'd like to specify this question a bit more. Annika is asking, currently not working but have a background in European studies. Okay, and writing and editing. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm just asking, reading your answers. Okay. Cool to for your heart, yeah. Damian is saying, until recently I was a postdoc in math. Apart from that, I hold a BSc in CS. CS is computational science, am I correct? And worked as a software developer, okay, in a blockchain startup. Who didn't? Now I intend to find a job in the industry. But in which industry? In blockchain or in IT in general? You know, I can tell that these NFT groups are like huge, like combo of people who are doing who have senior positions in IT industry. If you're interested in that, actually entering some of these good groups is probably a good approach. Magda, Polish living in Italy. Hello, Magda. In first year of a postdoc. Okay. The plan is to leave academia. Good plan. Shazia is saying, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shazia is saying, my New Year's resolution is to make a leap from being a certified editor. Yeah, okay. Go deeper into science publishing industry. Okay. Work as a science communicator. Another resolution, spend time on my creative pursuits. A book of short stories and poems. Lovely. You should, it's good to do self-publishing these days. Like my book was self-published. If you have a book out, unless you really you really aim to shoot for like New York Times bestseller, then it's better to go with traditional publisher. But other than that, I would recommend self-publishing through Amazon. It's really simple. Yeah, you should do it, definitely. Okay. Go into science publishing industry. Yeah, but that's definitely doable. But where are you based, Shazia? So I don't think I heard that from you. Okay. Damian's saying computer science. Okay. Industry in general. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not difficult with your education. That's a good thing. Monica is saying somewhat behind in research level. Okay, you know what? I will stop with questions here because I would like to go through some material, actually give you some information right now, like talk about the trends, and then I will come back to questions. All right? Because I don't. Yeah, I would like to share my presentation, and then I'll come back to the chat. Okay? So it's like I don't want to hold you online for too long for the people who came here for the presentation strictly, and but I will keep on reading after I finish. Okay. So. A little bit about the trends in the job market as promised in this webinar. We are like, 35 minutes in and I'm now starting with the presentation. Well, what can you do? All right, so I have to tell you a few things today, and I will also ask you questions in the meantime because I like to keep it interactive. So first of all, let's like this in the first part, I'd like to share some truism with you, some ideas of industry are in intensive development right now. This is kind of obvious, right? But what I would like to say is that there is some way of predicting which areas of industry are like going to grow faster than others. So I have a like a quiz for you. I have a question, and let's see if you can answer my question here. So my question would be how to best recognize the developing industries ahead of time. So how can you tell which areas of your, like, let's say, field of work are on the roll and will be growing the fastest in the coming few years? Not now, but in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now. And I have to tell you, people often tell me, oh, look at the Google Trends. Whatever people are interested in, that's probably what is going to be the most popular discipline. But it usually works the other way around. So it's kind of the like flip in a causal link. So usually whatever becomes popular, people start googling. So Google Trends pop every time something already became popular before. So there is a causal link, but it goes the other way around. So Google Trends, I can tell you, are not a good source of information. By the way, this this figure here is actually a Google trend for the keyword Donald Trump. So actually in the January last year, he was the search term was very popular because of this whole story around the White House and what was happening there. But now it's quite calm for a year now. Anyways, okay. So question for you: what do you think is the best way to recognize the developing industries ahead of time? And actually, I'm asking you this because I like you to get some take-home messages from this webinar that are more like skills that you can use in the future to be more independent in the job market. So not just a piece of information, but skill that you can use in the future. So how can you easily scrap information from internet and make sure that you know in which directions is your field developing? Anyone has an idea? Like, I'm just waiting for ideas in the chat. If anyone has an idea, please type in the chat and let's see. Oh, I am apparently pronouncing Shazia's name correctly. That's good. Yeah. Anyone? Do you have an idea? It's actually a hard question. It's a hard question. Actually, I asked the same question to some quite senior people earlier today, and they also missed it. So it's a hard question. But I'll wait a few seconds. Maybe someone has an idea. Any idea is good. But let's see if you have something on your mind. No one? Okay, then I'll let you know what my version of the answer is. So my answer to the question would be advertisements in ResearchGate. That's an idea. Yes, advertisements in ResearchGate. But like my answer to the question would be just follow the money. Look at the job portals. Yes, that's also a possibility. But I would look at the venture capital funding. So this is an information. If something is public, it's already late. Yes, I agree with that. So, well, So the point is, when you look at the venture capital funding and where it goes, this is where venture capital puts their money into early stage companies. So these companies will grow for the next few years because they get the most money. So that's why a little bit ahead of time, right? In which direction is the industry developing? So it's a bit of trick, yeah, because you know that the most money goes there to the development, right? Research and development. So in the 1 to 5 years, these companies will be actually the market leaders. Some of them will die, some of them will become the next big thing, but in general, this is where the venture capitalists put their faith. So, and these people, like these companies, VCs, they have access to very good research. They also have consultants. They pull information from economists, from researchers. They have very good insights. There is a lot of money on stake, at stake. So, if you know where they put their money, that's already like pulling information over many sources. And this is numbers. It's facts. You can find it online. And these examples I have here are just fully like public results that I found with a simple Google search. So, and this is like a general view at the field. You can see that this is the statistics for the last decade, but this is like a general overview of the market. It's without specification into specific like subsectors, but you can see that the software is obviously growing. Let's say biotech not as much, and there are certain sectors that are actually dropping in funding. And in terms of the like non-traditional investments, like crowdsourcing, let's say, you can also see that software is booming, for instance. So, but this is just like a simple example with just split into major industries. But if you're interested in one industry specifically, like software, like IT, or biopharma, you could look into more specific details, more specific information. You could just Google that particular sector with split into subsectors and look more into detail what type of services, products, developments get the most funding, and then you will have very good indication on like where, in which direction this market is going. So this is a trick, but it's a good one. It's also good because it's objective. It's objective numbers, and when you Google, like Google search can give you biased results. Let's say if you Google what is the best job or what is the next big thing in recruitment, it can give you biased results. So you have to always be careful with what the Google search like returns. But when you look at the VC funding, it's like objective numbers that are like hard data. So that you cannot really cheat on. So that's why it's a good. Can you please share this link? You know what? You can try, but I don't know if I'll manage right now. I was not prepared for it. You know what? Just if you Google PitchBook and VC funding for 2021, it should give you this report. It was very easy to find. It was like first record from the like top of the Google search. So just type PitchBook and VC funding, and that's it, and you'll find it. Okay, the trend number two. Oh yeah, Monica is saying also, and then also that industry is research wanting. Yeah, that's also. I mean, whoever is investing the most in R&D will actually grow. So if the amount of research in certain area is growing, then oh yeah, good. Shazia is just okay. Sharing. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if research is going into certain field, of course, it's going to grow with time. That's also true. Okay, the next trend I'd like to tell you about is this U function between the level of specialization and the market demand. So what I want to say by that is that, well, there's this. So traditionally, it was like a flat function. So very simple, like physical jobs such as construction worker, as well as like moderately difficult office jobs, or rather like low difficulty office jobs, as well as highly specialized jobs were more or less the same, like in the same demand. But now, since we are in era of AI and machine learning and Web3 design, these developments make many professions obsolete, and these are usually professions that are in the middle of the spectrum. So these are these like simple office jobs, like an accountant, or um, like a mediator of some kind, like assistant. Like those are taken over by software very often, and companies try to reduce costs spent on human labor by subscribing to automated services like HubSpot, like accounting software online, and they just try to reduce the headcount and reduce those positions on behalf of software. So, and unfortunately, many of these positions in the middle of the spectrum are traditionally more like female occupied professions than male occupied professions. So you have to the message is, you have to think for yourself: am I on the left side of the spectrum, or am I on the right side of the spectrum? Because you cannot stay in the middle, right? So am I interested in these very simple jobs, or am I interested in the specialized jobs? So I guess since you're in this webinar, you're definitely interested in the right side of the spectrum. So in becoming a specialist, like highly specialized professional. And that's why, like, as a take home message, you have to also pitch yourself as an expert. You have to show proficiency in your field, and make sure that that's how you're perceived. You're perceived as a highly specialized professional with very specific set of skills, and not someone who can be replaced by a machine anytime soon. And one advice I have, when you present yourself on LinkedIn, for instance, make sure that you write some essays, write some opinionated pieces. It's not about, what I mean by that is not writing something that is critical or anything like it, but more something that is like high level opinion about the topic, or uh, high level insight into a certain subject, like your own opinion. So something that AI cannot even cannot do too easily. So just show that you have some level of understanding that shows your proficiency in the field. And actually, funny enough, like I recently discovered this tool. It's called Copymatic, and this tool is quite funny. It's an artificial intelligence that generates text. You can try it actually online, and you can type any topic, and it will generate you a text that kind of resembles human text, and it's quite scary. I was like, when I first saw this tool, I was like, oh, this is going to put me out of business, because now AI can generate so much text, like I'm not even necessary anymore. But then it came to me, yeah, but this is just information. I started reading this text. It was correct, grammatically correct, but it was just information. It was like reading a Wikipedia passage. And I was like, okay, this tool still cannot analyze a problem and come up with its honest opinions the way I do. So this is my real value. It's not about producing a ton of text. It's about producing some insights, interesting observations, and opinions. So this is what really makes you special and makes you more valuable than software. So make sure that you communicate this, for instance, by pinning some article or some post on LinkedIn that shows that you actually have an opinion. And I take it seriously, because employers look into this today. So we will be talking about it later in this webinar. But this is a take-home message. You have to make sure that they perceive you as an expert, and that's the way to go. Just formulate opinions, write essays, and be proud of them. Just pin them so that everyone can see and everyone can read what you wrote. Next trend is that today, as a professional, you should say clearly what you stand for. It's good to say, what your personal passion or mission is. And for instance, I help and then some group of people with something, or I value and then some quality, or I'm passionate about something in particular, right? Some topic or some activity. Even if you don't feel like at the moment you have personal mission, because for instance you are in a process of finding new career and you don't really feel you found a new purpose just yet, just say something about your passions, about that makes you look to the people outside who are looking at your presence online without knowing you, that you're like not just a salary collector. You're actually passionate about what you're doing in daily life, whatever that is. So you put some emotions into your work, you have some association with your work, and it's something important for you. So it's something more than just paying, like getting paid for time. So motivation crisis is the biggest problem of the job market right now. So employers really want to see someone who is engaged and full of energy and willing to contribute. So make sure that somewhere online on your personal website or LinkedIn or anywhere else where you're active, people can feel that you're passionate. Even if you're feeling lost at the moment, there's definitely something you're passionate about. So just mention that. And one thing that is often overlooked by people, for instance, on LinkedIn, is the banner. So you have this banner space that it's like your free advertisement, and you can easily plug there information about what you're into, what you're passionate about. And people often just forget to do it. Like they often have an empty banner, or they have a banner that doesn't say anything or doesn't show anything meaningful, like very random photo, for instance. So who here has something, like something meaningful, like a sentence or a meaningful photography on their banner on LinkedIn? Tell me. I like to know who here has a who here has something that took care to create a banner that represents something important for them, and who still has their banner like free and empty. Just honestly, who didn't do the homework and didn't put anything on their banner? Or maybe you could share your LinkedIn profile if you have interesting banner, something interesting that you put there, something you're proud of. You could also share your LinkedIn profile here, so that we can see and see what you've put in your banner, or if it's something funny, for instance. If anyone wants to share, let me know. I know that LinkedIn has a little bit of a delay with streaming, so it might be that I get your answers in like a minute or no or so. So yeah, we could look into that later, but I'm curious if anyone of you has something interesting in their LinkedIn profile, then let me know. Okay, someone says, I have a favorite. Sorry, I don't see your name here in the chat somehow, but favorite photo of New York City from a photo walk there a few years back. Well, that's super nice. But that sounds like a okay. But is New York City important for you? Do you think it represents you in some way? Maybe you could, like, if it's a nice photo, it's great. By the way, Manhattan was also on the photo of this webinar, so on the from also of this webinar. So New York City is great. You could maybe add a line saying something meaningful for you. That's on the like front of the banner. That would be nice. Okay, Damian gives. Okay, Shazia is saying I didn't utilize the banner space yet. Okay, Monica says I never thought about the banner. Well, it's your free advertisement space, so just do it. Profile and affiliations. Well, you could say something on your banner. Okay, Damian. Okay, let me check. I'm now curious how Damian's profile looks. Let's see. By the way, if we are not connected yet, please invite me to connections, guys. I'm always happy to do that. Let's see what Damian's profile is. Oh, it's about mathematics. Well, that's nice. Well, that shows who you are. That's great. I mean, as a professional, of course. Okay, cool. All right. But I think you see the point. It's always good to. This is like your free poster. You know, it's everyone who visits your profile. This is the first thing they see, and so many people keep it empty. So please make sure you make good use of this advertisement space. All right. Next trend that is very important today is that there are two processes going on at the same time. One is that we become more and more individualistic as employees, so we have to kind of show ourselves, show what we stand for, show what we can do, what our skills are, what our professional experience is, but at the same time, and create our personal brand, of course. But at the same time, it's really important what kind of tribes in the job market and what kind of communities we are a member of. So this is the strength of our network. So these are actually two things. And I don't know if you know about this story of GameStop and AMC. These were two companies whose stocks were pumped by Reddit groups last year. So there was a group of people on Reddit who kind of got together and decided to pump stock price of GameStop. It was quite famous story, which basically shows how strong communities are today. Like online communities literally rule the world. If you if you're not a part of any tribe, any community, then you basically are alone in the job market. So it's really important to do both at the time. At the same time, make sure that you know you have a mission, or even if you don't have a mission, then you have values, you have your core competences, you know what you're good at, you know what you can contribute, you have branding that is consistent with this, you have consistent demeanor, so people know what to expect from you. Are you a funny type, or maybe very like chilled and factual, or maybe you're quite edgy with people and challenge them a lot, but being consistent so that people know who you are, what they can expect from you, and building online presence consistently and accordingly, that's really important. But also make sure that think of, okay, what type of professional associations I'm a member of, what kind of alumni associations. Maybe there is some alumni association that I should be a member of, but I never cared. Maybe I should join some of them. What kind of contact do I still have with my friends from studies? Maybe we lost contact. Maybe it's good to rebuild this contact. Also, what kind of LinkedIn, Facebook, or Discord groups do I participate in? Maybe there are some great groups that can support me and I can support them, but we don't. I didn't find the right group yet. And also forming informal mastermind groups, even WhatsApp groups sometimes with friends who have similar interests. That also works really well. People invest in groups. People support each other with job searching groups. So all these little tribes you participate in, just make sure that you have a good picture. Okay, which type of tribes are good for me? Where do I look for new ones? Which ones do I have to stick with? Where do I have synergy? So which groups are those that they contribute something to me and I contribute something to them? So where do I have a good like match point where I can confidently say that I have some knowledge that is like of value to the group members, but I also benefit a lot from being there. So I just try to look for these synergies. And it's really important to take care of both of these things, because I can see that many young professionals, they don't, they don't take enough care to develop in like these terms, and they either focus too much on their own presence, but they basically isolate themselves too much. They don't build any contacts, or they fully emerge in groups and try to contribute everywhere, but they don't have any of their own identity. And you have to have both. You have to know who you are, what you're good at. You have to develop an identity, be proud of yourself, be proud of what you can do, but you also have to find the synergies and find the right group. So you have to do both 50-50. And actually, let me ask you, um, like just think for yourself, like last Christmas, how much time did you spend calling people with wishes, or recording messages for people, or just making sure that you basically I ignite some contact because of Christmas time with friends and family. So like also I noticed that it's such a rare case today that people even call each other with wishes. Like I spent maybe 12 hours over Christmas just calling people, just because I knew that nobody else does. And I got a few paid gigs because of this. I got a few invitations to paid talks just because I was calling people with wishes. So I got a lot of professional opportunities without any intention to get any. I was just keeping my contacts alive. And this is just an example for me that people don't care enough about the strength of their community. So make sure that you do that and think for yourself. Like that's as a homework from this webinar. What is the list of the associations and like tribes online that I am a part of? Maybe there's something I overlooked. Maybe there is some group either on Facebook or LinkedIn or Discord or something I can easily enter, that's where I can meet a lot of interesting people who are like me or share the same issues or the same interests. What else can I do for myself to develop in this direction? So that's a homework. Just think for yourself. Try to enter at least one online tribe that you have never entered before. So that's a to-do thing after this webinar. All right, and LinkedIn is naturally a good place to reach both of these goals, because it's both a place where you can build a professional identity, and at the same time it's a place where you can find your tribes. So obviously it's a good choice. And I have a question for you to think about the reasons why is LinkedIn so crucial for your career opportunities today. So why do you think it's a good idea to take care of your LinkedIn profile? Can you let me know in the comments some ideas, please? Like there are at least 3 different reasons, and I know everyone is on LinkedIn, so the amount of people is one thing, but I have actually 3 other reasons for you why, as a job seeker and as an employee looking for potential opportunities, why is it a good idea to take care of your LinkedIn profile? Anyone? Maybe? Any ideas? I'll just wait a few seconds. Maybe someone has a good guess. There are many reasons, but I listed 3 of them. Let's see. Julia is saying recruiters and headhunters look for talents on LinkedIn. Yes, definitely. Yeah, today, especially those who make use of Sales Navigator, that's like a tool for companies on LinkedIn. With Sales Navigator, you can pretty much like screen the whole LinkedIn, looking for all kinds of skills and talents, and you can get emails from pretty much anyone on LinkedIn. So it's really powerful. Shazia is saying for networking and to stay updated of news in the industry of your choice. Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah, actually, it's much more rich in content and news in the industry than Facebook and other social media. Absolutely. Julia is saying to tap into the hidden job market. Yes. So what you mean is those positions that are never announced in public, right? Yeah, definitely. And on direct messaging, you can directly also talk to recruiters, write to them, offer, like, yourself as a professional. Yeah, definitely. You can basically create a position for yourself if you start engaging in a particular employer. And sometimes they can create an opportunity for you as well. Yeah, definitely. And Igva is saying it's the first place to create visibility. Yes, definitely. It's your free advertisement, like self promotion site. Businesses, when they want to become visible online, they have to pay big bucks to Google, and you have a chance to become to it's like a banner online for yourself, and it's free, so you should use it. Monica is saying to reach out to people who have some interest and start consortia at the time. Yeah, that's you can find people to build consortia, sure. Yeah, everyone is there, so researchers as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you for your ideas. It's a lot of ideas. Let me give you some other three reasons. So there are obviously a lot of reasons to join LinkedIn, sure. But let me just show you three things I came up with. So one of them is because it shows your full professional history. So today, when people apply for jobs, it's often the case that they tailor their resume, right? So when there is a specific position, they start cutting from the resume to fit into that position, right? So in the end, they end up with 50% of the content cut out just to fit the particular set of requirements. You know that for sure. Like, I also tell people to do it because it's sometimes it's the only way to fit into the requirements and not be eliminated early on. So everyone is doing this, I can tell. But sometimes, the recruiter or the employer wants to see the full picture. They don't want this tailor-made applications. They want to see how you appear in public, because this is your full professional history. You only have one public profile, so you cannot really tailor it for any particular job position. So they see the truth. They see your true colors. You cannot really mess with that one. And secondly, they want to see your demeanor, right? Because everyone is kind in their motivational letter, but not everyone is kind online, and they want to see if you're a beetroot, if you're a online hater, or if you're kind when interacting with others and respectful. And today, a company also has to take responsibility for what their employees say. So if they employ someone who has big mouth and offends people online, then they will fall into trouble because of their employees. So they really want to make sure that you're diplomatic, polite, kind, and approach people in the right way. So they view your social media profiles, of course, trying to find any reasons to maybe skip you from the recruitment procedure if they see something fishy about the way you approach others. So definitely your demeanor is a factor. And the third thing is what I mentioned before, the high level understanding. Especially if you're going for more senior positions, they want to see that you're something more than just an employee who is just turning cash into labor. They want to see that you have, if you're going forward in your career, that you have something more to say, some deeper insights, that you have some opinions, and that you are a bit of a visionary, and that you're trying to predicting also what happens next in the field. So definitely, um, pinning some posts or like articles on LinkedIn that stand for what your opinions are. Just say something creative from your end. This is a very good idea, because the employers will definitely value that. Mm, and let's see, one more. We still have some comments. How to get known with more hidden work. So improving practices that cost energy is important. So that improving practices that cost energy is important. I'm not sure if I understand the question. Could you maybe how to get known with more hidden work? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Could you state the question one more time, please? Maybe because or like maybe like chop it into more questions if there are, maybe because this one I cannot really parse. Maybe it's because it's late. I don't know if I understand correctly. If you could try again, I would try to answer. Thank you. Okay, and the last trend I'd like to tell you about, it's that today a career becomes a journey. So it used to be 10 or 20 years ago that you go to a position in a company, you spend a few years there, then you get to more senior position in a company, you spend there a few years, and then you move to another company, just do diagonal promotion and start there at some level, and then after a few years you move a little bit higher, but it all goes slow, and today it goes much faster. So you go for a project in one company, then you switch to another company or another project in the same company, but it literally takes months, not years, and then another company, another project, and the migration in the job market became much more dynamic. And this is a standard in many industries today. And the take-home message is that, well, what employers actually expect today from employees is no longer that the employee will stay around for a lifetime, because they are not delusional. They know that most employees leave at some point, so they will not expect you to stay around for a lifetime, but they will expect you to finish your project. So if you're employed for a particular project, then make sure that you at least stay till the end of the project, because that's really important. Because like many people actually make this mistake, they choose to flip jobs as soon as any opportunity arrives, some good opportunity, and they don't think about finishing projects. But in fact, what you should be, and when they introduce their career story, they talk about the positions they had. They were like, oh, I had this position of a junior project manager in this company, and then senior project manager in this company, and then another company, and then they talk about the position. But what the employers really want to know is what projects you accomplished, and if you brought projects to the end, what is your role in the project, what was the outcome, and it's projects that they look at, and not positions. Your position titles don't really say anything to them. So uh, so, um, so the conclusion is you have to communicate your completed projects, and also when you compose your LinkedIn profile, make sure that you talk about your role in the projects and also maybe the scope of the project. So whenever you talk about your positions or your publications, just make sure to include this information. What did you actually did, and what was the actual outcome of the project. This is really important. It's much more important to have that information than just the number of projects and just titles and the position titles, which is often also the case that people sometimes spend many years with one employer, and then they are frustrated and they feel that they are not competitive enough in the open job market, but in fact they are, because the fact that they stayed for 10-15 years with one employer is not a problem as long as they have completed successful projects that they can list in their CV. Then not a problem that they had just one employer if they had 20 successful projects within that time. So they basically put high pressure on themselves to flip jobs, but in fact it's projects that speak for them, not jobs. All right. And I cannot really I mean, I could keep on talking for a week about how to build a career in the job market of today, but it's just impossible to teach you all the skills that you need to make a successful career transition in just one webinar. But I like to mention in this case, before I proceed later to the questions, that I like to mention that we actually have a career transition program that is really efficient with helping people with a career transition. And basically it's based on our own model, in which basically to make a a successful career transition, you have to develop what I call the professional ID. It's basically 3 pillars of your professional identity. One of them is the way you build value for other people naturally. The other one is which tribes in the job market or which working environments you naturally fit best, given your mentality and your values. And the third one is your core competences. So, what are your actual strengths and experience? So, given these 3 pillars, you kind of can make best choices and best informed decisions about where you should go next. And this program basically is very intensive program. The first 2 weeks is basically learning about opportunities in the job market, learning about the tribes, learning about how these different working environments work, and figuring out what your professional ID is. So working on your self-discovery to make sure that you know perfectly well what you can do and where you fit best in the job market. Then the second 2 weeks are intensive training in terms of building your brand and also learning all the techniques you need to find and land good jobs. And we train also how to go through the job interviews, how to write letters, how to write resumes. So we do all that. And it's very, very, like, it's a lot of lecture, a lot of work. But after this training, you know perfectly well how to do it by yourself. And the last 2 weeks are like general rules for self-navigation in the job market. So everything you need to know to build a career in the scope of the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. So we're just teaching you generic skills that will carry you for many years to come and will be useful for a lifetime. And you can come to us for 4 weeks because the first 4 weeks allow you to find a job right here, right now. And then you can start over somewhere else, and then your problem of finding the next job is fixed. So this is the minimal amount of training you need to get to put your career on the next level. Or you can stay for the whole 6 weeks and then learn everything you need to know for the next 20, 30 years. And we have 2 groups starting soon. One of them is profiled for PhD graduates specifically and starts on Thursday, 3rd February. And one group is dedicated to industry professionals who are already active professionally in the job market. And it starts on Tuesday, 1st February. And both of them start at 6 p.m. UTC, so 7 p.m. Central European Time. And they go on Tuesdays and Thursdays accordingly. Yeah, so that was my quick introduction to the course. It's very intensive, but it's also very efficient. It's very successful in putting people on the right track and supporting them. And we also don't leave them alone after the course. You can always ask questions. There's a dedicated Discord group, so it's also a community. And I also have to say that it's very, if you want to get more information, please enter our website. It's ontology of value and then /workshops. And actually, to get more information and to enroll, it's very easy. You have to go on the page of the workshop and then just choose a group that interests you the most. There are different options as well, because there is a 4-week group and there is a 6-week group. And there's also a version with additional coaching package. There is a version without a coaching package. So you can find all the information online. But it's very simple. It's basically a product that you can add to your cart, and you can basically book the training straight away through the website. It's very easy. It's just like ordering an ebook, and then you will get all the information sent to your email and invitation and access to the Discord group and to the community, etc. So it's very simple, and we still have seats. So I just wanted to share this information with you. And now proceeding next to so you feel invited. You're welcome to join our training if you feel like you need hands-on help on your career transition. But now let's proceed to the frequently asked questions. So first of all, so these are the questions that were coming most often when among the participants that subscribed to the training today. One of them was, are there any jobs out of science field where having a PhD is a valuable thing? Well, yes, there are of course many professions and jobs outside of science where PhD is a valuable thing, and just let me give you a few examples. So there are many professions. Actually, I wrote about them also in my book a lot. You could take a screenshot at this moment if you would like to explore them later. So I don't have enough time to go through every single one of them right now, but regardless if you enjoy research, people, writing or reading, or just freedom in academia, there are tons of options for you and tons of professions where actually PhD is an asset to have, and it's a good thing to have. So yes, absolutely, the answer is yes. There are multiple professions and fields where PhD actually gives you an advantage. And the next question was, what are the post-PhD navigation pathways? Well, again, there are so many different options, and I will give you again an example from my book. It's actually a figure that I often use to explain that there are just different types of environments that you could potentially choose as a PhD graduate. And depending if you are more into building personal freedom or building stability at work and just safety at work, you could choose for different types of working environments, because that's the biggest question actually. What do you prefer? Do you prefer safety or do you prefer freedom? Because depending on that, you have to go the path of freedom or the path of safety, and that's one of the central decision points after stepping out of academia. But yes, there are multiple different pathways you can potentially choose as a PhD graduate. The next question was, the next, the next question was, is postdoc experience, does postdoc experience matters in industrial PhD? And the answer would be yes, as long as it's not, as long as it gives some extra value compared to the PhD. Because just imagine that you do a postdoc that is just continuing your PhD path, having just more research projects. Well, in that case, for like industry recruiter, what they get is a researcher with a PhD who is just a few years older, right? There's no other added value. You spend more time doing the same thing, the same type of research, so there is no added value of a postdoc other than, it adds to the, to the years of experience, but that's it. So if you but if you have a postdoc where you gain some extra skills, for instance, you manage students, you teach, you do something extra, and not quantitative, so not just quantitative difference but qualitative difference, right? So you take on board some new challenges that you didn't have in your PhD, then it might be of value, yes, because then you are building new skills that you didn't have in your curriculum before. But make sure that it's a qualitative difference, that you have new duties, new responsibilities that you didn't have before. For instance, you get some funding, so you have this fundraising experience, or you get something else, like you are part of professional associations. You have some extra points in your curriculum other than more of the same type of activity as you had before. Next question was money or passion. Which one to choose? Well, I think you don't have to choose. I believe you don't have to choose. I believe, and also when you look at the results of studies on wealth, it basically clearly shows that most wealthy Americans, at least, they didn't inherit their wealth, and they also didn't really have the highest paid jobs. They had the mid-range jobs that were safe enough to give them enough time in free time to just invest their money, and they were basically very systematic about it. They were It was just, they built wealth because of compound interest over the years. So if you're strategic about your finances, you don't really have to even you don't even have to go for the highest paid jobs. You can just be perfectly happy doing a mid-range paid job that you really love, and you will still be wealthy in the long run. So I don't really think that this is a dilemma. And also, if you choose for what you enjoy, then you also have a chance to become a top professional in your field, and then you will be paid well anyway. So I don't really see why would you have to choose between the two. So I'm a bit of an optimist here in that respect. And the last one, how to learn about the unknown opportunities. Well, the unknown opportunities have, this specific thing about them is that they are unknown. So it's really it's a tricky question. I was laughing when I first saw this question, because like I would like to know that by myself, how to how to know the unknown. I think at the end of the day, whoever has the strongest network will get the best opportunities first. It's just all about signaling opportunities and creating opportunities. So I think the more you invest in your network, the better for you, because the more like under the table information you will get. And as dirty as it sounds, this is true. Um, and the fact that people are so passive these days with just connecting and reaching out to people and calling others with wishes, with just check up call, and just how are you doing, how have you been. The fact that people that tend to be so passive about this is your opportunity as well. Like, this is what I treat by opportunity. So I'm like, okay, I have to be this person who does this because nobody else does, and then I get a lot of opportunities out of this. And then I would recommend you to do the same. I would recommend you to, again, as a homework from this workshop, call someone this week, that some friend that you haven't talked to for a long time, and just ask them how they have been, and let's see what happens. Maybe nothing, but if you do it often, then sooner or later, it's a karma thing. Karma comes back. So if you're kind to people and think about them when nobody else does, then they will think about you too. So you create yourself a safety net this way. And this is the best way to know about unknown opportunities. After all, and that's my belief. And it doesn't work in short term; it works in long term. So if you invest in your friendships, in your connections, in your like circles, and you deliver and value to them, they will start delivering value to you with some delay. So it's a long-term game. So it's like, if you continue putting effort into this, it will start paying dividends in some time. So this is the best answer I can give here, because other than that, how can you know about unknown opportunities? That's the beauty of unknown opportunities, that they're unknown. All right, so this is what I had prepared in terms of slides, but I'm open to discussion and I'm open to questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I will be just taking them one by one. So please let me know what your questions are. And meanwhile, I'm just reading what was said before. So Monica was saying a bit of from the idea that I tell that 1 and 1 is 2, in my view. I still don't understand question. I don't know. Like, is there something wrong with me? Just a second. I'm trying to understand. It's not for that practice. It's more my creativity to get across and let grow that practice. I have no idea what the question is. I don't know. Maybe I'm not on form today. I have no idea, really. Like, I was reading this 5 times now. I need coffee. Okay, questions. I know that LinkedIn is delaying. Yeah. Maybe let's call each other and talk one day, and then I'm sure I will get the question. We live very close, so you're also in Nijmegen. Questions, guys. I know that LinkedIn delays messages. So oh yeah, and let me put the link to the workshops just in case here in the chat. Workshops. Julia is saying, don't you also need to try a job or career at some point to know if it's right? Well, yeah. So basically, well, it's. I mean, career development. It's a bit of a game of, yeah. You have to learn as you go, and it's a trial and error sometimes. So of course, like I myself, I don't regret those failed attempts because I know that it was not right, and I only knew because I tried, right? So so basically, yeah, sometimes you have to try. Like if something is really, some thought is really itchy, like for a long time, maybe I should try this path. You know, sometimes you will spend more time mind wandering what if than if you would just try and go for a month. I also like before I started the PhD, I also worked for a month in a startup back in Warsaw. It was a neuromarketing startup, and I just didn't like the experience, so I didn't think about working in a startup as a startup employee anymore since then. But it's just I tried, and 1 month was a good price to pay to know this. So yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just have to try, and it's hit or miss. Like you have to try. Any questions, guys? More questions? Because yeah, if you don't try, you might miss on the right career path. So there is a cost of lost opportunity there. Yeah. And it's like treat this as an investment. If you try, it's like investing your time, and it might pay off either way. So I either closes some path or opens some path, and it's always a matter of where, like, do you invest your time best? And sometimes, yeah, spending a few weeks just to discover that this is not it is actually a good time investment. Any more questions? Because if you have any questions for me, you can always find me on LinkedIn, and please connect with me. I will be happy to connect with you. So if we are not connected yet, then please connect with me. And if you have any more questions, you can always poke me on LinkedIn. I get a lot of questions there, and either way, so I would be happy to take your questions. And yeah, and you can always also reach me through my company website and company email. So I'm easy to find. So if you have any questions about anything career related, or something I do, one of the projects in my company, or the workshops, or anything else, please let me know. I was happy to give you this workshop today. Oh yeah, Monica still has a question. How demanding is a job of assistant professor? Well, I think honestly, it's not much more demanding than like advanced postdoc, because it's like just pursuing the same career path. It's just a little bit more expectation in terms of supervising students, but other than that, is like the same, like in terms of uh, the fact that the currency is publication, so you have to keep on publishing, keep on attracting funding, and this is just more of the same game. Like I don't see, like among people I know who like proceeded from postdoc to assistant professorship, it's not much, not big of a leap, honestly speaking. Regarding research in particular, it's like at every career stage you do your best, right? So the game is exactly the same. You try to produce, you attempt to produce good research, publish it as well as possible. It's just entirely the same. It's just that at every level there are less stools left, less seats, so you need more to actually stay in the game. But other than that, you just do your best, and the currency is actually the same. So if you're doing well now, you will be doing well as an assistant professor. It's just a matter of finding the seat for yourself. But don't worry about that, because it will be the same game, just with a little bit more senior people around you. That's entirely the same, and everyone will be doing their best either way, so it's the same. Okay, okay, thanks for a wonderful session. Oh yeah, sure. Great to have you, Shazia. Great. Thank you for your active participation. Okay. Any more questions, guys? You have still. Okay. What counts the duration of a PhD? So is the question: does the duration of your PhD count for your assistant professorship? Is that the question? Because, well, partially. I mean, if you were doing PhD for 10 years, then expectations toward your publication list would be higher, right? When toward, like, with respect to whether, like, if you finished your PhD in time. Well, in general, it's perfect if you finish your PhD in time, but here in the Netherlands, like, most people don't, so no one is delusional to expect you to finish in time, because almost nobody does that anyways. So okay, it is bad when I do tennis. Well, it really depends, because they always, like, look at your situation as well. So if you were doing PhD for 10 years but it was part-time, then it's perfectly normal to take 10 years. Or if you were doing some other things, like, one of these clinical PhDs where you do work as a doctor and do PhD next to it, or if you did PhD 10 years because you were away for a part of the time, or if you did for 10 years but now you have 10 publications instead of 4, fine, right? So it's always, like, weighted with what you actually did, but which boils down to the same problem I was talking about before. It's not about your positions, it's about your project. So how much did you actually do in 10 years? Because if your PhD thesis is 1,000 pages long and you have 20 papers, then fine, right? That you spent 10 years on that. So it really depends on what you actually did in that time. I also work part-time now. Then that's already an argument on your behalf, right? So it's always, like, they always look into every single case separately. So if you have enough activity in that time and enough output, then doesn't matter as much how much your PhD took. And again, this is a matter of opportunity. So they either have a suitable position and that you happen to perfectly fit, or not. So it's also a matter of opportunity. Sometimes they only have one candidate that, like, even remotely fits. So even if they took 10 years to do a PhD, fine, because they are the best candidate. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So it's really a matter of finding yourself at the right time, at the right place, which is again about connections. So which boils down to what I said before. So it's all connected with each other. All right. If there are no other questions for now, then I already took over an hour and a half. So thank you guys for participation. Thank you for being active. It's really great always to see active participants in the chat. So great to meet you. I wish you all the best in your career development, and hope to see you some other time. And yeah, and again, hook me up on let's hook up on LinkedIn. And take care, guys, and have a great evening. I'll be quitting this chat now, and yeah, talk to you later, and all the best. Thank you so much.